Hi, everyone. Welcome to the UFO Hub live stream. Today's guest is going to be Sherry Wilde. So I'm very excited to talk to her today because I guess for reasons that she will get into later, she hasn't been doing any interviews lately. So I'm excited that she's back, doing a lot better, and you'll find out all the info later. But first, wanted to just cover a few things real quick. Later on, whenever that might be, because we haven't exactly set a time, so I'm hoping to be able to talk to Sherry for quite a while. But when we do get into the Q&A, you should be able to, in the chat, whether you're on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, simply put 3 stars before your question and submit it. So this way I know it's a question for Sherry. Or if you would like to actually ask the question yourself, download the Telegram app, either on your phone or on the computer. There's the link in the description for the UFO Hub group. You'll be able to join it, and you'll see a voice chat going on right now. And once you join that, you'll be able to just raise your hand and speak to Sherry once time. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I need to cover. I think that's pretty much it. So let's actually get into, there we go. Sherry, welcome. Thanks for being on.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. As you know, it's been a long time.
Yes, it has. I'm really glad you're here and we're able to actually have this discussion. So I figured what I wanted to do is just basically, let's just for someone that's new. I know there's plenty of interviews that you and I have done for UFO Hub together, and I urge everyone to watch those. But I just would like to see if you can just for maybe 5-10 minutes just get into your background, and then I figured we'll take it from there. What's been happening to you more recently?
Okay. Well, okay, my background. I guess I got into this whole UFO stuff, as shocking as it is, surprising to me still. I mean, I'm still not used to it, but I got into it back in 1987, 88, when my town had a UFO flap, a lot of activity of UFOs, and the investigators came out of Chicago, and they eventually found me. I found them. And they ended up investigating me for weird things that had happened in my life. Missing time, the classic symptoms of an abductee is what they called us back then, and I guess they still do. So the Center for UFO Studies came up, and Don Schmidt got to be friends with him, but he did the investigation of my case, and it just blew my life apart. I mean, it's all documented in the book, and it's all documented in the other videos I did, so I'm certainly not going to tell that story again, at least not now, not here. So move ahead, and eventually, much to my surprise, I ended up writing a book. I was told I was going to write a book, and I was told that the book was going to be made into a movie. And I didn't believe that, but I did end up writing a book, and Dolores Cannon was the publisher. And after it came out, I started doing public speaking at events, conferences, and that sort of thing, which I really loved. I loved meeting the other people who were experiencers themselves. I loved hearing their stories, and it was gratifying for me because I never wanted to go public with this, and it cost me a lot to do it, but it was gratifying to know that I was helping a lot of people. And that's the reward that I got when I would get out and be amongst the people who had interest in this, and they would share with me what it meant. And I still get that through my blog. So it does make it all worthwhile, but as soon as my book was published, it was published in 2013, the minute that it came out, even the minute I signed the contract, it seems, with Dolores, I started to have problems. I didn't know it at the time. It took me a long time to realize what was going on, but I was poisoned, and multiple times. And I was, they used EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, on me, directed energy weapons, and implants in my brain. They used the voice of God. So I don't like the word attack. I just don't like to say I was attacked. I don't like that word. Let's just say that they tried to stop me from talking. They had warned me. I remember there was one night when I confronted them. They came here to my house. If I'm ever strong enough to write a second book, this will all go in the second book. But they came to my house one night to, as they said, finish me off. And I mean, I did have some protection around me, which I'm grateful for. That kept me alive. When they were here, I asked the guy, "Why are you doing this to me?" And he just said, "You were warned." And I was warned to never talk about the things I knew, never speak of it. And of course I did. I didn't just speak about it, I wrote a book. And the book's being made into a film. So my understanding is that's what they were afraid of. Apparently they also have the ability to look down the road and look into the future. And they saw all this happening because of my little book. And the film will reach a lot of people. The book has already reached more people than I could have ever known that it would. And they didn't want that. They don't want people knowing the things that I had to say. So they tried to kill me. And the poison has been pretty brutal and did a lot of damage to me. I'm trying to come back from it. It took me a long time to find the proper doctor. There's really no doctor who could help me. I'm doing the medical medium, that's it, medical medium, heavy metal detox, and his diet, which is terrible. I mean, it's very helpful, it really is, but man is not meant to live on steamed potatoes alone, but I'm trying. I eat steamed potatoes for almost every meal, wild blueberries and that sort of thing. So I'm cleaning, it's super cleaning your body is what it is, and it's doing everything to reverse the effects of the poison. I've been on that for about 4 months, and I am seeing some results, but right now I have severe vertigo, so I can't see very well. I know there's a computer screen sitting in front of me, and I know that I have a window over there because I can see the light, but I'm actually I'm not blind, but I'm very, very blurry vision. And it's hard for me to walk or stand because I'm so dizzy all the time and nauseous. So I'm praying and I'm hoping that I can get my head cleared out so that I can write another book. I want to write about what happened to me. It's the story that I told in The Forgotten Promise is the story of being abducted and how difficult it was to come to terms with that. The story that will be in the next book, if I should be able to ever write it, will be about how things really are on this planet and how shocking it was to me to know that this sort of thing could happen. And it was a real wake-up call. I mean, it's still hard for me to believe. My little dog, Pookie, who was my constant companion, he went through it with me, and he didn't get poisoned, but he got hit with the EMFs, and that really took it out of him. And so I lost him in March of this year. And I miss him a lot, but he was my brave little soldier. He stood by me through the whole thing. So it's been hard to have him not here, but I'm not really well enough to take care of him anyway. So that's what I've been up to in a nutshell.
Well, Sherry, I'm really sorry to hear that about your dog. I know you and we spoke several times, and you haven't mentioned that to me at that time. So I'm finding it out as well right now. But well, what I wanted to, I think I guess I'll rephrase it again, because I know I said that to you right before we started the stream. I always want to give solutions and this information that's of light, to people, because I've been through the dark. And so however you come out, you just want to give the people the good stuff, which in essence, yes, that's what at the end, that's where it will end up. But some people are still struggling in this process, and we're talking about not just when it comes to contact with aliens, but different things, whether it would be personal things between family members or at work or everywhere else. All those struggles, will eventually build to something for them to get out of. And so I often don't go backwards to touch on those things, but I've noticed that people are not quite there yet, because for me, just to say to somebody everything's going to be all right, they would be like, "Are you kidding me right now? Have you seen how the world is like?" And so, but they don't see it the way I've seen it after what I've been through and you've been through, and some others. But wanted to ask you if we can then let's touch up on these things that are considered to be negative and dark, and only then to show that we will come out of this, as things progress. If you're okay in doing that.
Well, I am, of course. I prefer also, just like I don't like to use the word attack. I'm glad you put that comment out there, because I'd like to build on that, if you don't mind, Adnan.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Because I would like to say, because it was kind of a downer what I said, and this whole thing has been such a journey for me. The whole experience of being on this planet has been such a gift. And I have to include the last 8 years of my life, 9 years. I mean, it's hard. It's been incredibly hard. I mean, it's been awful. But there's a gift in everything. And I have to go by what I know and what I always would say at my lectures, which is that you can't be a victim. In this world, the way that this is set up, well, in this universe, you don't have things just happen to you randomly. You choose what you want to have as an experience, and you either attract it to yourself or you agree to it. On some level, you are agreeing to everything that occurs. And that has to be applied to my own experience as well, of having been poisoned and attacked. So at first I was really pissed. I was really mad because I was loving the traveling and getting out and meeting people and promoting, my whole theory or my whole belief about how you can't be a victim. And here it comes along that I become like this ginormous victim. And I was really pissed about it. And I was constantly asking, why did this happen? How could this happen? Where's my protection? I would say, where's my protection? And I just couldn't believe it was happening. When I calmed down enough to where I could hear my guys speak to me, or Yeshua who speaks to me, and it was him that came through. Finally, it was just a random thing the first time I started to get answers to why this was happening. I was on a plane, I don't know where I was going, and I was sitting in my seat waiting for takeoff, and I heard Yeshua, I felt him, and then I was aware of him being right there next to me. And he said, you chose this. And I was like, damn. Yeah, I had to say, yes, I know I chose this. I mean, he had me there. And he said, you wanted to experience this. And I said, but why? Why would I want to experience this? It ruins everything, and it's so hard. And I always enjoyed life, and this has taken all the enjoyment out of it. And he said the strangest thing to me. I never could have made this up. He said, because you knew, and the implication was as a soul, or on the level that I had made the decision. He said, you knew that this experience would color your soul in a way you could not get if you didn't go through this suffering. And I thought about, it has brought me comfort because I know what he's talking about. I'm a light reader, and I can read people's light. I see people sometimes as their soul rather than I don't see their body very well, always. And so looking at someone, sometimes you see their soul, or I do anyway. And different people have different colors in their soul. And I'm not sure if everybody has this or not, but I know I always noticed it, that it seemed the more awakened people, the more people who had a little further, as I like to say, up the ladder of life, their souls had some just amazing color to them, just like crystals, the colors you don't normally see in this world. And others were just like clear, which I guess I would have at one time said that I thought just a clear soul was probably one that was more advanced or evolved. And then there are souls they're kind of dark. Well, and then there are those on the planet whose souls are either very dark, or there are a few people I could mention that don't have a soul. So when he told me that, I got it. It resonated with me because I know that in my heart, I know that to be true. It's a little early. The suffering is still going on to some extent, but not near as bad. But even so, I can look at what I've been through, and I can see the gift in it. I can absolutely see the gift in it.
So Sherry, let's, if you don't mind, let's then backtrack a little bit, and then let's start out with when you first started out your, I guess your cleansing process, and then I think I don't know how far apart they are. Certain your visit to the hospital and all these different things if you wanted to get into that, and then at least in this way we'll catch up on why you've been absent pretty much from interviews, in the several months. So we'll cover that, and then get into some more things later.
Yeah, the fun stuff. Yeah. So without dwelling on it too much, I got poisoned in 14. It was through some pills. It was lead poisoning. I have mercury poisoning too, but I don't talk about with lead. And I guess I just continually got worse and worse, went downhill. I was trying to keep up with my schedule of commitments I had made to speak at Contact in the Desert. And I mean, I just loved going out and doing some of that stuff. It was just so much fun doing it. But I eventually ended up canceling. You know, I got so sick. I would drag myself to these conferences and do the best I could. But I went to one in Canada that I had no business being there at all. And I could barely get up on stage. And, you know, energy comes into me. I have the support of my guys, and they would infuse me with energy, and I would get up there and I'd be able to do it. But I finally had to just stop. And it broke my heart, but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. And I continued to go downhill so badly to where what poison does to you is it makes you, I mean, it does neurological damage. My central nervous system, the EMFs, you know, it suppressed my immune system and suppressed my frequency, where I could always have communication with Da anytime I wanted to. I could reach out to him. I couldn't do that anymore. And so life got pretty bad. And I requested an exit in, I think it was January or February of 2015. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just knew I was dying. And there had been a few times, you know, when I didn't think I was going to live to see the morning. And so I requested an exit. I went before the council, and I gave them my case and requested that I be allowed to leave early from my mission, and they granted it in September of 2015. I was going to die of pancreatic cancer, which I was sorry to hear that. I thought I was going to go out via a car accident. I don't know why. But I no sooner had that in place when I got a message from Amelia Benz, who is a spiritual teacher that I follow. And she requested that I come out to see her. And I said no a few times because I was so sick, but Jim encouraged me to go. Said, you know, you're here on the sofa. You know, you can just get you to the plane, get you on the plane in your seat, you fly there, she'll pick you up at the airport. You need to go. So I went out to see Amelia, and I think a lot of people know that story. She shocked me when she looked at me first thing and said, "So I understand you're planning to leave the planet." And I was just dumbfounded. The only one who knew about it was Jim. So turns out she had heard from my guys. They couldn't reach me, and so they had requested that she get a hold of me and ask me if I would reach my mission. And I didn't care what they said. I said no. But then she went on to give me a message from my soul family, and then finally from Mother Earth, all of them requesting that I stay and finish my mission. So as sick as I was, I agreed to stay. So my departure was canceled and I stayed. And I don't know why, but I thought that I thought I'd get better. I should have made it part of the deal. And I didn't think to do that. I didn't cut a deal like that. I just said I would stay. And I just automatically assumed I would get some relief, but I continued to get sicker. It wasn't too long. It was about 3 or 4 months after I got back from Anelia's that I woke up one morning and I knew I was dying. I told Jim to leave the house. Pookie was terribly sick too, and I just figured the two of us would just go together. And I made him leave. He didn't want to, but he knew how I felt, and he understood why I felt that way. He'd been watching me deteriorate, and he ended up, after he left, my guardian, a guy, I call him George. He's my personal, I don't know, guide or something, I guess. And he's got this big booming voice, and he yelled at me and wanted to know if I was just going to let myself lay there and die. That's what I did. And I was happy to do it. I was so looking forward to it. But he said something. He said, "Aren't you even interested to know what it is, this thing that could kill you. And I said, it's heart, it's heart failure. And he didn't answer me. And I said, answer me. I said, it's heart failure. I'm in heart failure for some reason. And I started to be worried that I wasn't going to die. I started to be worried that I was just going to have a stroke or something, and I would be, confined in a body, but couldn't communicate, couldn't move, and I started to get scared about that I wouldn't quite make it all the way over, across the bridge. So then I called Jim, and he came back. He took me to the hospital, and I told the doctor when they wheeled me in there, I said, I'm in that it's going to kill me. And then I said that it's going to kill me. And then I said, don't you dare save me. Of course, he thought I was nuts. Jim had already warned him that I was crazy. But I really did want to just be let go. Even though I had told Anelia I'd stay, I thought, I can't help it if my body dies. But what they found was that I was not in heart failure. I was being poisoned. So that's where the journey begins in earnest. My numbers, the poison in my blood was off the charts. They didn't know how I had survived or how I was continuing to survive. I was in the hospital for 5 days before they finally gave me a treatment. I think they were just waiting for me to die. They didn't know what to do with me. They'd never seen anyone with that much poison in them. So began chelation. And I did, what is that called? AETDA or whatever it is. It's chemical chelation. It's horribly hard on the body. I did it for 3 years. I did it for the rest of 2015, 16, 17, and 18. For 3 years, I went up to this place that did chelation. Had it done sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. Terribly expensive, $140 or $50 each time I had it done. And I didn't have a lot of money because I had all my assets taken from me in 2010. And I'd gotten sick right away, so I wasn't able to work to replace them. But I managed, the money just showed up somewhere. That's another part of the miracle. I had one man in particular who came into my life who supported me in my endeavor to try to get better. And he was a wonderful person. And he helped me to pay for that. When the chelation went better and better, and I didn't get better. And I searched and searched, and I was guided. I've always been guided. Things always have shown up, and that would be in the book. There's been 1,000 miracles, 1,000 times that my guys, their hands are all over it, their fingerprints are all over. Somebody will call me who I haven't seen or talked to for 10 years, and they'll just happen to know what's going on with me and how to cure it or how to fix it or address it. Over and over again, that would happen. All these miracles, just amazing, just amazing. And I ended up at Envita, a clinic down in Scottsdale, Arizona, where they tested me for Lyme disease and all kinds of other exotic things. And they declared that I had Lyme disease. And they said that they could fix it it would cost like $70,000 for the treatment and $20,000 for me to rent a place to stay down there for the 3 or 4 months it would take to fix it. And I couldn't do that. But I wasn't meant to do it. It was frustrating to me that I couldn't do it, but I trusted. I have a lot of trust. I've learned to trust, and I just wasn't meant to go for that treatment. There were days where I just cried with the frustration of it, but then I would get myself back to center and I would go, there's got to be a reason why I'm not meant to do that. I eventually did a Lyme treatment here in Wisconsin that was a lot less invasive. Turns out that the Envita clinic, they're good people, they're wonderful, but their treatment does not resonate with what I believe to be the best thing to do for Lyme treatment. They use antibiotics. And I ended up getting treated for the Lyme energetically, locally here in Wisconsin. I came through that. It just about killed me. It just about killed Jim watching me go through it. I was unable to get out of bed. I was unable to move. Jim had to turn me, roll me over, a baby. I could not dress myself. I couldn't feed myself. I was just, it was quite horrible. Um, I came through that March of last year, and I was expecting when I got done with that I would be all better, but I wasn't again. Something new, the vertigo came in. Yeah, it was March of this year, because the vertigo came in the day that I was told I was free of Lyme. I got this horrible vertigo, and I was still weak. And some wonderful people that I know got a hold of me that very same day and said, "We are tired of watching you suffer. You need to get on the medical medium diet and the protocol for treating what you've got going on." And so I had nowhere else to turn, and I know they've been beating me up trying to get me to listen to them for some time about this, which I wish I would have, but I trust I wasn't meant to. So I've been on that protocol now for, since I started reading the book in March, end of March or so, and I started the protocol in April and got onto it full force by the middle of May. And I'm hoping that helps. It's there's nothing quite like, losing your sight, losing your ability to walk. I have a wheelchair here. I haven't been using it for a while now. I've been well enough to leave the house. I wasn't able to leave the house for a long, long time. It's been tough. It's been very tough. There's been other things going on along with the sickness. I had pretty much all my close friends and my family have all abandoned me. And Jim and I were talking about it one day, and Da did come through. I was able to hear him then, because he yelled at me, and he said, "Sherry, don't you understand you're being isolated? What did you think that business with your sister was all about?" Which my sister, surprisingly, was one of those who also left me. So having been sick was bad enough, but being isolated, having family and friends disappear was tough. I don't know who did the isolating or why. A part of me believes it could have been done by my guys. I asked Da and I couldn't get an answer from him, but I believe that it was done possibly for their benefit. The man that I mentioned who helped me out financially, and another man who did wonderful healing protocols on me and was like my family, they both died suddenly, tragically, on a Friday afternoon while alone at their home of a heart attack. And I have my own theories about what might have happened there. So I think possibly people close to me were shielded. They're coming back now into my life slowly. Those people are showing up, and I've asked a couple of them, where did you go? What happened? And they weren't aware. The one was aware. She said, "I don't know." She said, "It's like the whole memory of you disappeared from me until tonight." She called me one night late, and she apologized for having disappeared. She thought it was for a year, and I said, "No, it's been 2 years." And I said, "Just out of curiosity, because this has happened with everybody, all but just a few people." And she said, "Honestly, Sherry, it's like I just forgot you." She said, "I don't know how that could happen. I just forgot you." And she said, "Until tonight, I was at a gathering and somebody talked about your book, and then someone turned to me and said, 'Don't you know her personally?' And she said, and it was like I got slapped, and all of a sudden I was like, 'Oh my God!' She said, "So I left the party and came home to call you because I was so upset by it."
Oh, wow, that's
And the
interesting.
other person, oh, go ahead.
No, I said that's interesting that, it's
Yeah,
yeah, for that to happen, just to forget about you, although you've been friends.
exactly. When it happened, another woman I talked to, she doesn't even know yet to this day. I told her about the isolation because she was one of them who disappeared, and she said, that she didn't realize that she had been gone from my life also. She just had no clue, and I didn't say anything. And so I think that's going to be the case of most of the people, but it's just very strange. But that was a tough part of it too, to be sick and kind of be, I had Jim, and I had the people working on the film who are just wonderful, wonderful people, and they support me so much, and they were my lifeline to the outside world because I didn't have anyone else. And so it's been but I learned things. I've learned things from this whole experience, this whole journey into this darkness. It was like into a dark tunnel, and you learn. You just learn. It's just been the most amazing experience, and I guess I wouldn't know how to put it into words right now. And then if I get that book written, it will be in there. But I would just say that thank God for Jim. I've told the story, not a lot, but about how I was forced into that relationship. They had me. I was in a relationship with a guy from Arizona, and we just got up one morning and parted ways, which I never did understand why that happened, and it was just kind of bizarre. And but we parted as friends, and looking back now, I see why that happened. Everything in my life has a reason, and that's why I do trust so much, because my guys know what they're doing. I came back to Wisconsin, and they forced me to go to this thing. They just bullied me into going with my girlfriend to this place, 4th of July dance, and where I met Jim. And he was the one to take care of me. Not that the other guy wouldn't have or couldn't have, but he's been through hell with me, and I don't know how he did it, but he kept me here. There were 3 times one time in particular, and he's talked me down off the ledge. When the suffering was so bad, I couldn't face another day. But he has unreal with his patience and his kindness, and he strikes just the right balance with me, where he doesn't baby me. He's just an incredible human. He's just an incredible human being, and they don't touch him. And I wondered why, and it's because his star family is Draco. He has had 3 incarnations now. This is his 3rd incarnation, but he came from the Draco family, and because of that, they honor that. And we also, and we've had the Draco here, and he's been with them, and I've been with them. I've had them here a lot, and the ones that have been here, I do not believe were the ones who attacked me. I just don't believe that. I feel in my heart that it's because of their alliance with him. So it's been interesting. I hope I can somehow get it out into a book someday, or that it will come out as part of the film, maybe a 2nd season or something.
Well,
But it would
Sherry,
be an interesting story. Yeah.
Right, I wanted to ask, so now that you're feeling better, did you reestablish connection with Da and your ET friends, or was there any more happening on that end too?
Well, they've been coming in three times that I know of. They came in to but it wasn't Da, but they came into what they do called clean my brain, clean the poisons out of my brain. They've done that 3 times, but you know what? I think the last time I had communication with Da was before the 2016 election. Right before that, my sense of it is that, well, wait a minute. No, that's not true. That's right. In 2019, there was a period of time before I went into in 2019, they told me to go to Arizona for the winter. And I said, I can't go to Arizona for the winter. I'm too sick. And it wasn't Da, but it was Aurora, I think, or I don't know. It's one of the women, one of the hybrid women. And she told me that I had to go to Arizona for the winter. And I said, I can't. I'm too sick and I can't afford it. I got to stay here in case I can make some money. I was still trying to operate my real estate business through being sick. That was fun. But then they did that thing that I talked about at that little conference that you had. I was able to make it to that. I was really sick, I know, but I wanted to do that for you, Adnan, and I was happy to do it. And I told a story about the video poker at the casino, and how they showed me I was going to win. And I did win $49,000 that day, and then a total of $63,000 if we added it all up, what I won at the casino. And they wanted to know if that was enough for me to go to Arizona for the winter. And I said, hell yeah. And I'm like, is that what that was all about? And they said yes. So I went to Arizona. It was Da who requested originally that I go to Arizona. But then it was this woman who came back in and said, we see you haven't made any plans to go to Arizona. And that's when I said, well, geez, I wonder why. We have this thing on the planet called money, and I don't have any of it. And you need to help me. If you want me to go to Arizona, I'd love to go. If I can get my body down there, I'd rather be there than in Wisconsin for the winter. And so they did. They loaded me up with that $63,000. And I went to Arizona. While I was down there, I had to be there by myself. They wanted me there by myself. And so I took Pookie, and Jim came back to Wisconsin because he had a job at that time. And so I spent 2 or 3 months down there, I think 3 months. While I was down there, this part's really strange. It took me a while before I couldn't believe that this was happening, but I was at night. I was doing what I had heard other people talk about doing, which I wasn't sure if I believed it or not. They talked about going out on the astral plane, leaving their body and going out and like doing battle, which I always thought that's kind of, I didn't know if I wasn't sure I believed it. The part about doing battle. And then here I am all sick, an old lady, but that's what I did. At night, for a major portion of the nights I was down there, I was aware that I was going out of my body. I was going into another body, but sometimes it was an ET body, I think, but other times it was a human body, a human-looking body, because they wanted someone who was human. And I swear we were like in tunnel. It was like a tunnel. Now, I don't know if that was a ship that was long and dark and narrow, but it felt like a tunnel. And it was dark. It felt like a cave. And it was horrific. It was horrific. I was screaming during the night. My dog actually left and got as far away from me as he could get. He went as far away into the closet and back into the corner, which is not something he would do. But I was doing that every night, and I actually came home from there suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And I only recently, I don't scream every night like I used to. I had night terrors for a long time. Now I'm used to waking up in the night and having lights in the room. I'm used to waking up and having a Draco standing looking at me, or a ET. I don't scare easily. But I came back from that with issues from having the trauma. I have partial memories, and there was a lot of death, a lot of fighting and killing and rescuing someone or something, I don't know what. It was horrific. But that's what they wanted me down there for. And I haven't explored it. I don't think I want to. Whatever it was really terrible, whatever it was. So that, I had that communication with them. When they want something from me, I hear from them. I've reached out to them several times, asked them if they could help me with my situation, but my understanding of it is that I agreed to this suffering. There's another reason for it, Adnan, which is that I did agree to take on some of the collective's victim energy. And we had a meeting on the ship in 2011 that I have conscious recall of. And I struggled with this for a long time, but they showed me how this works, that they wanted volunteers to help break through. The planet was surrounded at that time with this dark fog energy that was there as a result of so much of the people on the planet feeling like victims and being very low frequency from that. Being a victim puts you in a very low frequency. And they had a whole bunch of us on the ship, and they were talking to us about how, if you sign up for this, if you agree to this mission, and you take on the role of being a victim, but you don't respond by being a victim. So it transmutes the energy into light, and they showed how it poked through that dark energy and allowed light to come through. And it eventually broke down that energy. And they wanted as many volunteers as they could get, but they didn't really need that many. If I remember correctly, it was only 12, 15, 20 would be great. And I didn't want to volunteer for that. It didn't sound like fun at all, and I felt like I had done enough already and was doing enough. But I saw another young lady behind me volunteer, and they kind of put pressure on me. They said they had me in mind when they came up with this idea, and they really, really were looking for me to set a good example and to allow myself, because it was for the good of the planet, and so I agreed to it.
Sherry, can I just ask you? I'm really sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to clarify a few things. So, is this more like a basically? Are they also in conflict with other alien races that have another agenda? That's what they're trying to change. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, on the message that day on the ship, the one that kept echoing through my head was, they are fighting back harder than we ever expected, and they are pulling tricks out that we didn't know they had. That's what they said. It was an update on the ship. I've talked about before, I knew they were coming. They told me they were coming to pick me up. It was an important meeting on the ship. And yes, definitely.
Who are these other races? Do you know?
The reptilians, with the reptilians in particular. But they are, they've infiltrated our government. They've infiltrated everything. Everything on the planet has been infiltrated, not just the politics, but everything is toxic and dangerous. I think, it's a very negative message, but they just want us dead. They want the humans dead. They know that they're going to ascend and evolve if they can't cut them off now. And I will tell you this, Adnan, I have memory of before I came here of this planet trying to ascend at least 3 times, but if I remember my history correctly, I think it's 8. This might be the 8th time that this planet has tried to, the humans have tried to move up into the 5th dimension. And this was going to be the last chance, because Mother Earth had decided that she was going to move into the 5th dimension this time. She wasn't going to stay back anymore and wait for her children. So she was going with or without them. So when they asked for the volunteers, we came to assist her to do that. But then, eventually we get caught in with the humans, and you want to see them also evolve and make it up that ladder. So this time it was a make it or break it. And that's why all the stops were pulled out and all the volunteers were, there's millions of us here that are working. The people watching this program are those who have volunteered to be here. I'm sure they are awake. We didn't get as many of the native Earth humans to wake up as we had hoped for. Most of those that are going to be moving on are going to be the volunteers in the star seeds. But what we did do was managed to, I'm pretty sure I think it's safe to say we've defeated the Dark Ones. It's pretty much all done, but it has to play out a little bit. But what we did for the Native Earth humans was we got them out of this bondage, out of this horrible cycle of reincarnation and constantly dying and coming back and being used as slaves, not even knowing they were slaves. So we did free them from that, because even though they may not go beyond the third density at this time, they are still going to be moved to another planet that's of a 3D nature, but not as much of a prison planet as this one, a controlled planet. So we have success in that way. So there's no losers, in this whole thing. So we've been successful. And of course, Mother Earth is ascending. She's definitely going into the fifth dimension. Really, in truth, she's really already there. So
Can you maybe speak a little bit about that elusiveness? Because it seems, I'm kind of basing it, because I just recently did an interview with, I hate it when I can't remember names. Reed Summers, sorry, it slipped my mind. And he's the son of Marshall Summers that started out the Allies of Humanity books. I don't know if
Okay.
you're familiar with them. Well, they were kind of talking about the similar thing, that there's this, I guess I called, it wasn't his word, but I call them the hidden hand. This kind of, they're not making themselves known, but they're making a lot of changes and things happening that trickle down as like governmental policies to us, but they actually have more of a nefarious source. And so can you maybe speak to that at all?
Oh yeah. Because that's a really touchy subject, because that's definitely true that the Dark Ones have infiltrated into the government, into the medicine, the educational system, into every level of society. The Dark Ones, and it's the reptilian influence, which I call them Luciferians personally, because they don't. A lot of them don't have souls, and a lot of them, they can appear as human, or there are humans who have just been bought or been coerced or blackmailed into going into the dark side, and they participate in the Luciferian rituals and all that goes along with that, which I know. See, the problem is, from my perspective and my experience on this planet, the humans that are here, the Earth humans, are so sweet and kind-hearted and loving, and they're just good at their soul. The majority of them are, not all, but the majority. And they can't comprehend the evil that exists on this planet. You go out on the street, a lot of people would even, if you ask them, is there evil? A lot of them would probably say no. I don't see any evil, and that's because they're at their core, they're so sweet and so innocent, but they're innocent to their own detriment. I started out saying years ago that it's sad, but the humans on this planet are complicit in the evil that's taking place and the crimes against humanity, because they give their consent through their complacency. Their complacency comes from the fact that they are so innocent and sweet, and they can't comprehend of this evil. But it's also because they don't choose to. And that's where my frustration comes in. I've had the experience of pointing out, because I feel like it's my job and I'm wired to do it. I point out that, there are millions of children who are being sacrificed, and who horrific things are happening, and there's all these terrible things that are going on, and you have to become aware of it so that you can be aware, so that you can say awareness of it. But the CIA, of course, started the whole New Age movement, which was very crafty of them, because that really plays into the Earth humans' sweet nature and their kindness, where they feel sitting and sending light and love, and not looking at the evil, because they don't want to look at it. They don't like to see it. I don't like to see it either. Nobody wants to see it. But unfortunately, to look at what's going on, you have to acknowledge it, and then you have to say no to it. It's just the way it goes. You can't just pretend it doesn't exist. And bless their hearts, they're just sweet. I mean, I've had people that have been around me when I've been talking about the chemtrails, and I'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you might not know what that is," and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I've seen them. I know what they are. Well, I mean, I know they're there, but I don't want to know what they are because I know it can't be good, and I don't want to have to deal with it." And so you can take that and apply it to what's going on with the children and the underground bases and everything, the poisoning, everything. You can apply it to that. Had humanity, the humans, taken time to look at what's really going on, it could not have gotten this far. It should never have gotten this far. But it's a giant wake-up call. That's why we're not getting very many in the harvest, because they just didn't want to see it. They didn't want to open their eyes to it. They didn't want to acknowledge it. Life on this planet can be fun, and if you once you wake up, it's not the same. It's true, and I'm sorry to say that, but anybody who's awake will agree with me that the waking up process is brutal, and once you're awake, you can't unlearn the things that you've learned, and they're not always. It's not rainbows and unicorns.
Well, I think
Sadly, yeah.
I think part of that would then imply responsibility, because I noticed for myself, it's just exactly what you're talking about. You then have to pay close attention. It's everything is up to you to, let's say, to filter out through the news instead of just sitting there taking it in, just and believing what it says. Like, are they lying to me or not? So then going back and let's say a press conference, instead of just watching the news and getting a 2-minute clip or just watered down, dumbed down version, I have to go back and rewatch the whole thing to understand the full context. Only then do I realize, oh, they lied to me again. Then you get to see how the narrative is created, and then you understand more what narrative actually means, and so then you find yourself then having to make other choices. Like, okay, well, they say do this, but based on what I know, I can't do it. So then now it starts to create this uncomfortable feeling that nobody likes being there, which is basically this, standing in your own power. And I think you said that before too, and so that's the challenging part, because then that means you mean to tell me I have to be at my mayoral, meeting, or whenever there's elections for mayors, local, elections. Most people don't care for, what's happening locally, except for every 4 years. So that's just one aspect of really being a responsible person, instead of just coasting through life and just occasionally go, oh, okay, every 4 years I make my check mark, let's go camping, And so I think that's the difficult part on every step of the way. I mean, every single step of the way.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. But I mean, if we take just the issue of the children, I mean, how can you rest at night knowing that there are children being tortured? I mean, that's how big it is. I mean, that's how real responsibility. But the consequences are pretty big, and I mean, everybody on the planet knows something is going on. They know something's different. I mean, even the most asleep, unconscious person knows that there's something different, that life has changed, and it's not probably going to be the same ever again. They know something's up. And those who are aware of the ascension, of the shift, this is big. I mean, I wrote about it in my book, a day when you will need to make a decision. Are you going to stay, or are you going to move on to the new earth? That day has come. It came. We made our decision, and you can see it. And being well informed is, those who are watching this probably, they all know what I'm talking about. I mean, are you going to choose love, or are you going to choose fear? If you chose, you know what you did. You put the mask on, and you put the poison in your body. And what are the consequences of that? They're pretty big consequences. And that just makes my heart so that didn't quite wake up in time. They didn't quite catch it. They missed it, but I mean, time doesn't really exist, so it'll come back around in another 26,000 years or whenever. But it's the consequences of not being responsible and not being willing to look at life fully, and the consequences to your soul and to your soul's progression has consequences, and it makes me sad. I wish we could have gotten everyone to wake up. It would be easier, but I think this process, they'll take that with them into the next life that they have, their next incarnation, and in that case, they'll probably be one of the first ones to grab the flag and wave it and say, we need to stand up. We need to not ever be controlled again. So I don't know. It's sad, but at the same time, right now there's a lot of good things happening. I think people are waking up really fast, and you can always wake up. You can always wake up. And that's, I think, happening day by day as we suffer through these lockdowns and the dark forces trying to control us to such an extent that they tell us what we can and cannot do. It breaks my heart to see people comply so easily to just, listen to, I don't know what the broadcasters' names are on TV, I don't watch, but to have your newscaster tell you got to wear a mask, and have this politician tell you, no, you got to wear 3 masks. And I mean, we still see people out there wearing them. They haven't a clue. They haven't caught on to what this is all about. And I just feel incredibly sad for them. Incredibly sad. But everybody's got their own journey, and you trust in it, have their experience. So.
Sherry, just hold on one quick second. So just wanted to address something real quick. On my end here, we're sending the stream out at 1080p, 60 frames per. I don't know if for some reason if YouTube can't, is causing some issues, but I have one other person that's also watching it, but they have a really good connection. So she's not seeing any issues or problems. So I apologize for those that if YouTube is creating that for you, maybe just if you refresh your browser and reopen the window, it might get back to normal. Or actually, if you have the option, if you're on your computer, just reduce your resolution down a little bit so that you can have more of a smoother connection. I hope that helps. But on my end, I'm getting you loud and clear, and everything I keep checking is sending it out just fine. So for those who are having issues, maybe if you just turn your resolution down just a bit, that might solve the problem. So anyway, I just wanted to address that, Sherry. So
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry I got sidetracked now. So what is basically then is there is there an end goal to this overall thing? So will they ever these hidden ones, will they ever be known about? Will they ever come out? Or is this something that will be introduced to us in a different way? Do you have any information on that? Because will we never really know about this? Whatever big changes happen out there, that they'll stay out there, and we'll just notice a better life on the planet without necessarily ever knowing that there was some kind of alien intervention.
I think that in fairness to the humans, they will be told, maybe not the gritty details, and don't need to know the horrible details, I don't think, but the basics. I believe that it's part of the plan because the Galactics are involved. They're deeply involved. As a matter of fact, we couldn't do it without their assistance. And there's many different races here, the Syrians and the Pleiadians and Drama. It's just they're all here helping because we're all family. And it seems that the Earth humans are like a vital link. It's highly critical that that they survive, if at all possible, and make this transition. So I do believe that it will come out. I don't think they're going to get hit over the head with it. I mean, it's traumatizing already, just living your life out there the way things are right now. For people, it's just a lot of people don't deal with change in their life, and this has been forced upon them. The fear, which is so prevalent, which is how they control the masses. It's how they get people to lockstep and put that mask on and let themselves be injected with poisons. It's because of fear. I mean, there are people that I never thought would have gone to stand in line to get that shot, and they did it, and they at the last minute they caved into the fear. So it always will come down to that, the fear or the trust in life to take care of you. And so I think in order for them to learn, which is what this is all, you can call it learning or remembering, for them to remember the truth of who they are, they need to see what has gone down. I think it would not be beneficial to have gone through all this and then to not know not the details, but at least know the overall story of how this played out. And I think people some are gonna be shocked, but a lot, those who are awake, we already know what's going on. We know that they've kept us safe from, the dark ones would have nuked us a long time ago. They would have done many times over, they'll do anything to try to kill us. So, of course, we have protection from beings who are more advanced than us, because they have that kind of advantage. They've got the reptilians. I mean, the reptilians are the ones that are behind the V, that technology that went into those horrible things. So they've got that advantage. So we've been allowed, the good guys have been allowed to have some of that technology as well.
Sherry, just switch my screen over to me real quick. I want to give you an opportunity, if you could, please, to just turn on some lights in your home, if you don't mind. It's getting a bit darker, and I just want everyone to see you better, if you could, please.
Okay, no problem.
So anyway, while she's doing that, real quick, in the description, I have the website for Sherry. It's, I think, the forgottenprovince.net, and you'll be able to get a copy of her book there. And so I always encourage people to check out any social media, any websites, or anything else that my guests happen to share. But okay, yeah, that looks much better. Thank you for doing that, Sherry. I'll switch over back to you. So what I wanted to, I guess, get into next is there any message from your friends at all, from the ET friends, I should say, regarding all these things that have been happening, these different mandates and lockdowns and mandatory vaccinations and all these other things? I mean, do you have any information on that?
I haven't had much communication other than when they've come in to do some healing work on me, because I've been, as I tell some of my friends, being sick turns you into a narcissist. I mean, you turn all your attention inward on yourself. You're focused on getting through the day and just trying to survive, trying to make it as good a day as you can. So I haven't had a lot of communication with them. I can only tell you, Adnan, what I mean, I guess I don't feel like I needed to have any input from them. As soon as the whole pandemic thing started, when they came out with it, right from the very beginning, I knew it was a lie. I mean, I just knew that it was a lie, and I think a lot of awake people did. You smell a rat.
You mean to the extent of the severity of it?
Yeah, and the whole thing about it, that we weren't being told the truth. I questioned if there was even such a thing as the coronavirus. It's not what we're being told, because as it turns out, of course, the V was put together. They had that years ago, and they just had to find a way to get it in us. And so the calling the flu coronavirus seemed to be the best way to, that they found to do it. They just ran out of options. And is it a hyped up version of the flu? Did they do something to it? Yeah, I think they got something done with it, but I don't know how bad it was. But it turns out it's the treatment of it. If you went to the doctor or to the hospital, the treatment is what actually kills you, plus the incentive of the money they were offering. So if you caught the flu this last year, which I did, Jim and I both did. I knew Jim would get it, and because he's out and about, and we just took hydroxychloroquine, and it just knocked it. It was gone in no time, and because I had heard, that broadcast that was what worked for you. So yeah, I smelled a rat right away, and then when they started with the mandate of the isolation, stay in your home, and the mask and all that, I was like, are you kidding me? You're just kidding me. People aren't going to stand for that. I mean, I honestly thought people would not stand for it. I looked around, and I got back on Facebook. I hadn't been on there for a while, but I got on there to see what people were saying about it, and I expected it to be everybody saying, we're not going to comply, and they think they can get by with this, and blah, blah, blah. And instead, I posted a few things about how I felt, and that I was not going to wear a mask, and put on the mask, Sherry. For God's sake, put on the mask. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for others. Which, see right there's hitting into the core of the humans, their heart, how sweet they are. And how many people did I hear tell me, well, I didn't wear a mask, but I wore it for others. And I'm like, no, that doesn't cut it for me. I'm sorry. I didn't wear a mask. I refused to wear one, and I was sick during this time, so I was taken to the ER several times, which we finally gave up on that because that's such a joke. But it was early on in my going into this last bad round, and Jim didn't know what else to do with me. I was in terrible shape, and so he took me to the ER in the height of this pandemic, and I refused to put on a mask. I'm there because I had blacked out 3 or 4 times on the floor, convulsing, and it was from lack of oxygen. And so I go there, and I'm complaining that I can't catch my breath, I can't breathe, I can't get enough oxygen. And they're trying to put a mask on me. I'm like, I'm not wearing a mask. And I mean, and they treat you like you have leprosy. They put me in isolation, and it was just a nightmare. And we walked out of a few different ERs, and I went to see her as an emergency measure because I was really kept blacking out and so weak, and I didn't know at the time. Well, I didn't understand. I didn't know what was going on with me. This was beyond the poison. This was just recently, And I went there, the whole clinic, of course, in the waiting room, and all the staff, everybody all masked, and some of them in gowns. And they said my doctor would not see me unless I put a mask on. And I said, it's my doctor. I said, she's obligated to see me. They took me back into this room. My doctor comes in, and she's wearing a biohazard gown that from her ankles all the way up to her head covered. She had on 2 masks and one of those plastic shields down over her, and she had gloves on, and she wouldn't come near me. She was on that, like 40 feet away or something, And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I said, do you mind if I videotape you? I said, you're just hilarious. And I videotaped her, and I said, look at you. I mean, I felt bad for her. I said, look how much fear you're in, that you've been controlled to this extent, that you forgot what you learned in school. You are a doctor, right? You did go to school. I said, how is it that I know more about this virus than you do? I said, how is it that I know that a tiny mask, isn't going to do anything for a virus, and that that doesn't stop it, and that it doesn't spread that way? And how is it that I know that this whole thing is a made-up lie? It was incredible. It was such an experience, and I swear that happened just so I could write about it someday, because it just shows how crazy humanity got toward the end, to the extent that the fear-mongering went to get us to put on the mask and to comply. And so it was tough times,
Well, Sherry, if I may interject real quick,
Yeah.
what I found was very interesting regarding this whole time is just that part is the it's the I was told, therefore I'll do, which was really weird because I thought, you know, when you come up with the studies, I mean, studies about masks have been done. Just recently, MIT has been doing studies on social distancing, and didn't find a difference between 60 or 6 feet. That it doesn't matter how far you are, particles will travel. And so what the point is, I think I've often brought this up. It's like that information was just not allowed to be talked about. It immediately meant that you're somehow an evil person that needs to just be gotten rid of, and that was the scary part to see that in the United States, because I thought the whole point is to, you know, give as much information as possible, but then it just, got turned into this politicized thing that if you weren't wearing a mask, that means you're a Republican. If you did, you were being a good Democrat, and so divided people and, within, meetings. And you and I have talked about this, there's always been this talk about divide and conquer, divide and conquer. And it's like, it was so clear that that was it. They just said, I'm on this team, you're on that team, we have to clash, and that was the sad part about that, because, it was, it was all about trust the science. It was like, well, you just, cut off 60% of the science, with your story. So how can you trust the science when you're literally trying to see the big picture with only one eye open?
Right, right. I think logic just went out the window. I mean, common horse sense, I mean, it was incredible how people who it seemed almost like the more education they had, the more quickly they fell in line with what they were being told was the truth, which was so clearly not the truth. It was shocking to me. I was shocked by it. To put on a mask and to mask your children, and now they want them to to get the shot. It's just those are serious consequences for those, for being asleep. You're paying a big price. That's the way I see it, and it breaks my heart. But you can't. I learned one thing, and I learned it a long time ago, but I keep trying because I'm stubborn, but I keep trying to wake people up. But I don't do it heavy-handed anymore. I don't even hardly try anymore, because it's like that person's soul has decided to stay asleep, and until the soul decides to wake up, they're just not going to wake up. And that's just the way that it is, because I have this one person that I love a lot, that I care about, and I've been trying to get him to see what's playing out here. And sadly, I mean, I just can't reach him. And he's a smart guy, but if they're not ready, they're not ready. And so all you can do is trust that their soul knows what's best for them and allow them to have their own journey. And we were there at one time. There was a time when I'm sure when our soul was new on the path and was not ready to hear these things. So, we have to allow them to have that experience, I guess. But it's sad.
So, Sherry, what I wanted to ask is, can you go a little bit into the part about, I don't know at which stage, at what year, at which point this was regarding this, was it Maria?
Oh, Maria.
Yeah. Can you, I've heard about that, and I know you and I haven't exactly talked about it. So can you maybe go into that, please, and what exactly happened?
Well, that was an interesting. So you asked me if I've heard from Da. I haven't really heard technically from Da, but I hear from like what I think of as his team. And my sense of Da is that he's super busy. He's just super busy with what's going on, because he is involved in what's happening here on the planet. I mean, that's part of, and I'm going to get to the Maria story, but I always wondered why, back when I was teaching Course in Miracles and stuff, why I always had so much of a political bend or aspect to my spiritual teachings and my spiritual life. Also involved the politics, but it's because my team, Da, that's what they're here for, and that's part of what I'm here for is the awakening, great awakening that's happening to the planet and the ascension. It all ties in to what happens with our politics. That is, i.e., the freeing of humanity. Humanity, has to be freed, and that is done through the political system and through what's going on right now. So anyway, so he's got a team, and So what happened was, when was that? That would have been not that long ago. 20, must have been 20, it was last year in 2020, so I think it would have been in the summertime. So about a year ago, I was really sick. It was right before I started the Lyme treatment. And I was going for, what do they call that? Where they put oxygen into your blood and interview vitamin C. And I was still getting chelation every now and then. So I was going to that holistic type doctor. He's a medical doctor, but he has his own practice, which is more toward holistic. They found out through me talking to one of the nurses, he found out that that I was looking for a way to possibly end my life, because I just couldn't take it anymore. So I was exploring different options. I was afraid to do it, as Jim would tell me on those times when I would say, "That's it, I'm doing it tonight. You can't talk me out of it. He's like, "Well, how are you going to do it?" And I'd say, "I'm going to get a gun." And he's like, "Are you sure?" Because I'd had this conversation with Da, requested an exit in 2019 around Christmas time. Holidays are really hard because it's just really hard. It's my birthday and it's Christmas and got no family, And I was sick, so at Christmas in 2019, I went in and requested an exit, and I thought I'd get one because I'd been granted it before. I just assumed I'd get an exit. And the council turned me down. They said, "You don't have an exit for some time." And I said, "Well, give me one." And they said, "We can't do that. You don't have an exit, next." And I was out of there. So I went to Da straight away and I found him and I said, "I was just, at the council and I requested an exit and they turned me down." And I said, "And I want to leave the planet. I want to cut out." And he just looked at me and he said, "You don't have an exit." And I said, "I know, but," I said, "you got to help me make one." I said, "You got to help me find an exit." And he said, "Sherry, I can't do that for you. You know how this works. You laid out your life plan." He said, I remember you purposefully didn't put one here because you didn't want to be tempted to leave. He said, you wanted to stay through to the end of this mission. He said, "So you're going to have to do that." And I said, "No, I'm not taking it anymore. I can't take it. It's the isolation, the sickness. I can't, it's horrible. I can't do it." And he said, "You don't have an exit." And then he turned away. And I said, "If I take the barrel of a gun and I put it in my mouth and I pull the trigger, I'll damn well create an exit now, won't I?" And he turned back and he looked at me and his eyes scared me. Never seen his eyes were always filled with love and stuff. He looked at me and his eyes were cold. And he just said, "Try it, Sherry. See what happens." Ooh, and that just scared me. My blood turned to ice. So when I would go to tell Jim I was going to take an exit, I was going to do that. He said, "Are you sure you can do that? Are you sure? They're not going to let you." He said, you could end up, blowing half your head off and you're still here. They don't want you to leave. So something's good is not going to come of that. It's convinced me to stay. So I'm at my doctor's and I can't help it. I'm playing with the idea. I mean, sometimes it just helped me get through some of the rougher times, was the fact, thinking about that maybe I could leave and go home. And they found out about it. So they decided that I was depressed. And I said, "I'm not depressed." I said, "I don't get depressed," which I don't. But I'm just fed up with this whole thing. It's I've got a long time to go. From what I understand, I have to go all the way through till 2022 before I can possibly have any hope of coming out of this. And I said, I don't want to do it anymore. But they decided to do a treatment where they give you, put you under anesthesia, and they called it resetting my brain. And I agreed to it because I didn't care. I mean, I agreed to anything, didn't care. So I went in and they did the treatment, and I've loved anyway. There's something about that, going into that darkness. But I'm not in the darkness. I find myself in this tunnel with all these. symbols on the wall, and I'm spiraling through this tunnel, and I realize that I'm being chased, and someone is chasing after me. Actually, a group are chasing after me, and to capture my soul, and to capture my soul. And I don't know how I know this, but I know it, and I become aware of this. And so I go to, I just remind myself that I'm a divine being, and that I am one with my Creator, and that no one can bring harm to me without my consent, and I do not consent to this. And so I'm going through all that protocol, all that stuff that I know to do. And then I hear music, and then I hear a beautiful voice talking in a language that made me feel very comfortable and at home. And I'm hearing that language, and I can almost understand what they're saying, what she's saying. This woman is talking with this music in the background. And then I like come out of that tunnel, and I'm like, think, Sherry, think, you're Sherry, you're on Earth, where are you? Reminding myself of where I was and who I was. And I was like, come on, where are you? Come on, come to the surface. And it took me a while, and then finally I managed to open my eyelids, and I see Jim sitting in the corner of this room, and he's got this kind of horrified look on his face. And I'm like, where am I? And I can't do much, I can't talk, and I still hear this voice. And then I become aware that the voice is speaking in a different language, a language I know, but then she switches to English. And I hear her say, with a very thick accent, you can do this to her. Don't you know you kill her? She's no human. And as that voice is saying that, I become aware that it's coming out of me. And at the same time, I become aware that Jim is horrified by what she's saying, or what I'm saying, but it's not me, but it's coming out of my mouth. And the woman is saying, that you're trying to kill her, and this is killing her, and get this IV, get this out of her, stop this now. And then I see Jim jump up and run out the door. Then I fade back out, and then I come back to again, and again I hear the song, this music, and this voice speaking beautifully. And the IV has been disconnected from me, and I'm coming to the surface, and I can't talk, but this voice is speaking through me, and I become aware, and I question, I'm like, who is in control of my body? And I understand her name, I hear her name, which is really, really long, and her name means River of Life. I remember that, because when I heard her say her name, tell me her name, it meant to me River of Life. And she's scolding the nurse, and then she stops abruptly, and she looks at her, and she says, oh, see, you have a kind heart. You didn't mean to kill her. You were trying to help. I'm sorry. But we are here to protect her. It is our job to protect Sherry, and she was in serious danger. There were those who were going to steal her soul. And the nurse handled it pretty good. And she said, well, who am I speaking to? And the woman started to say her name, which was that long name, but then she stopped and she said, you can call me Maria. And the nurse said, well, where is Sherry? Is Sherry okay? And she said, yes, we have her in protection. She's here, but she needs to rest now for a while, but she's safe now. But you can't do this to her. Do you not understand? She's not human. She doesn't have a body like yours. And so you can't do these things to her. And so the nurse was just as sweet as could be. And I thought she did a really good job of staying calm. She kept leaving the room and coming back, I think, to shake it off a little bit. But I was kept in the background. It was like I was behind a screen, and I could see and hear everything going on, but I couldn't respond. And I was really tired. I was very tired. I never was in any fear. I never had any fear about what was going on, but I did know that this soul was in danger, and that my body was in danger. So this Maria came through and kept me safe. Now, I think I came back to the surface after maybe 45 minutes or so to an hour. I don't know that for sure. But we left the clinic eventually, and Maria was still there. I could still sense her there with me. And I could even channel her somewhat, or let her come through to speak. But I was so tired. The drive home was about an hour, and we came home, and I laid down in my bed. And as soon as I laid down, the room filled with a light, a red light. Usually it's white, but this was a red light. And I sat up in bed, and I saw this little machine come down into my bedroom sitting area. And I've seen that machine before. It was familiar to me. And it's accompanied with these little guys who come in, and they've done healing on me several times. I think they're Syrian, but I'm not sure. They're little, sweet. They have cute little faces. And so I said what I always say when I have visitors. I always say, "Welcome. Are you here to take me home? Are you here to take me home?" And they said, "No, we are here to reset your brain the right way." They made a joke about it. And so they did. That one was a times, and the next morning when I got up, I felt really clear-headed. I mean, the protocol I'm doing now is to get the heavy metals, the poison out of my brain, because I believe there's still some in there, which is causing the vertigo. My vagus nerve is inflamed, and my brain is probably inflamed from the poison, or maybe it's from the EMFs, I'm not sure, or the directed energies, I don't know. But something's inflaming it, causing me to have all this dizziness and blurry vision. But that's the story of Maria. And I keep asking her to come back, and if she really wants to protect me, come back and take away this vertigo. But they don't listen to me. I understand it's probably because I have to finish off this mission, but we'll see.
Well, Sherry, do you instead of me just constantly asking the questions, do you want to go into Q&A so that
Sure.
people can ask some of the questions themselves?
It was always my favorite part of the lecture. As you know, I always love the Q&A with the crowd. So yeah, I'd love to do that. That'd be good.
All right, so please in the comments, if you could put 3 stars before your question, so that way I know you're not just chatting with each other in the chat rooms, and I know it's directed towards Sherry. Also in Telegram, if you simply tap on that little guy that looks like a raised hand, that tell me that you want to out directly. So I do have one more question for Sherry. So during that time, I'll let you guys write out your questions or get yourself ready in Telegram, and then we'll get going. So Sherry, how much longer do you foresee this basically happening on the planet in general until all this confusion about masks and mandates and all these things finally settle down? Because it's not even a crazy thought, but it's made to be a crazy thought that there's so much data from actual scientists, biologists, virologists that are simply shut out and not allowed to speak. And so when will that kind of rejoin the overall scientific community so that, we have the bigger picture and not just one push narrative?
Well, the last time I checked on that, and it's been a while, it's been it was a year ago, I think almost, when I checked in on that, and what I got was 2023, based on that timeline, that it would be 2023 before things calmed down to where life could be considered more enjoyable, somewhat enjoyable. But I'm always constantly being reminded that there's endless timelines, and everything is up to the collective. So it's all on us. The sooner that we wake up, and those who are asleep wake up and know the truth of what's going on and recognize it, because it's on us to bring that about. And yeah, the controllers have the ability to call the shots to some extent, but if the humans, if they would just not put on the mask and refuse to comply, I mean, it wouldn't take much at all. But we've got a handful of people who are out there. We've got some fantastic truthers, out there that are working hard. And there's this new thing that just came out about the Constitution being. I sent it to you, Ed, and I don't even know what to call it, but that gives me a lot of hope that there are these groups that have organized to where they are suing the federal government for trillions of dollars and basically firing everybody in Washington, and have set out these goals that all of us should sign that petition. And I'm sorry that I don't have the name of it, but maybe you could put it in the comments or something. But that gives me a lot of hope. So it's on the humans. That's why it's human nature to want to be saved, and they have that savior complex, and it doesn't work that way. It's on them to wake up, see what's been going on, see how the wool's been pulled over their eyes, and to decide. It's not going to come from the government to say, okay, now you're free, go about your business and live your lives. You don't worry about the mask anymore. We're not going to require that anymore. It's not going to be that way. Humans, the people, have to say, we're not taking it anymore. We're not going to be controlled. I mean, that's what the wake up is. That's what the great event on planet Earth is all about. People finding their power, declaring their sovereignty, and not being a victim anymore. It's all about the whole thing about being a victim. It's just ingrained and entrenched in this planet so deeply. Not think of yourself as a victim, but you can't. They have to find their voice. They have to find their power. So it'll happen as soon as they decide.
Thank you for that. So, Sherry, the first question I have is from Andrea. Says, why the ETs take eggs? What was the program about?
Well, there's a lot of different hybrid programs. A lot of them are not good. A lot of them are nefarious, and they're sad and horrible things that they were doing. But the hybrid program that I participated in was to perpetuate the human species, because when I came onto the planet, when I agreed to come onto the planet all those many decades ago, humanity wasn't going to make it. They were going to destroy themselves, and so they were going to kill themselves off again. And so they wanted to make sure that we perpetuated, we could keep the species going. And so we do the hybrid program, and it's just what my group does. They mix their genes with ours and do enhancements. I mean, I was enhanced. My body or whatever was enhanced, tampered with, and a lot of who are in this program, we consented to our children being their DNA being enhanced in certain ways. It seems a lot of people have trouble with that, and I kind of did at first, but it's how it works. I mean, the higher life forms are the creators. I mean, that's just how it goes. We are creators in the making. And so, we will now probably find ourselves doing the same thing, mixing species to bring about a new form of life. So that's what the program was that I was all about. That's why they do that.
Okay, thank you for that. Forgive me, I'm definitely going to be butchering some of these names, but Anuska, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, is asking, how can we keep ourselves safe from any negative race of extraterrestrials? What can we do to safeguard ourselves?
Keep your frequency high. I mean, the first time, no, not the first time, but one of the times when the reptilians showed up here at my house, I responded to them. I don't know how I did it at the time, but I responded to them by sending love to them. And I did. I just felt nothing but love and compassion for this big old reptilian guy who was standing here. And that, I don't know if it kept me safe or if there was anything to even be afraid of, but I just felt nothing but love for him. And when I talked to Da about it the next morning, because I got up in the morning and I was upset with myself because I was like, oh my God, Sherry, there was a reptilian here and you just stood there and sent them love. I mean, what's wrong with you? And Doc, came through and he said, what are you frightened about, Sherry, or what are you worried about or something? And I said, well, there was a reptilian here last night, and and they're evil. I understand they're evil, aren't they evil? And what can I do? And he told me then, stand in the truth of who you are. They can't touch you. So if you stand in the knowingness that you are safe, that you are a divine being, you are a sovereign child of the Creator, you have every right to be here, and that you are all powerful, and you know that truth about yourself, they can't hurt you. They can't touch you. That's the truth of it. But to get to that point, sometimes it's more than just saying it and thinking it. You have to live it. You have to live in a way like when they tell them to put the mask on. I mean, going back to that conversation, you don't just go, oh, okay. No, Da says it starts with one. And when I would try to get into a store and I had people screaming because I'm walking around without a mask, I just calmly stand there and I take it till they're out of wind and out of breath and their red face and buggy eyes are calmed down, and I just talk to them calmly about, do you understand that you're being manipulated and that fear is what's driving you, and that is a sad state for you to be in. So you have to be calm and you have to be in touch with the truth of who you are. You have to practice it. You have to live it. You breathe it. It's your set point, as I used to say. It's your reset point. It's who you are at your very core, and you know it. So when you get to that point, you don't have to worry about it. And you have to, and also on some level, I mean, those who are messed with by the reptilians and that, they have agreed to that experience on some level. And it's not always conscious. It's not usually conscious, just like me with my sickness, with getting sick. But on some level, I accept that I agreed to it. And so you know that about yourself. It's empowering to know that. So I hope that helps you. No fear.
Okay.
No fear.
Thank you for that. Mallory M is basically making more of a statement, but then it does have a question as well. I feel like I too am a volunteer without discrete minders like Da. Her story feels similar to what I believe my story is. Does Sherry agree that not all volunteers have minders like Da?
What do you call it, Mike?
I guess she calls Da your minder. I don't know what that means. Like
Oh, okay.
maybe like a guide. I don't know.
Guide, yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, he feels like family to me. He feels like an extension of myself. So just because you don't have contact with him or have an awareness of that, you do. Your cosmic family is close to you. They are your family. And so if your story is similar to mine, you just haven't, for whatever reason, maybe it was agreed upon ahead of time that you weren't going to have that kind of communication. In my case, I know I asked him to stay close near me, stay in constant contact with me, so I didn't get lost in this world and the illusion. So yeah, you've got family there, and if you decide now that you want to have that communication, that contact, you can ask for it. I know they're busy. I mean, they really are. I mean, they're people like us, and they're up there on the ships, or and they're doing their work, and they're doing a lot of work. But you can still ask for that communication, and ask that be opened up, and you can do it. Maybe start through meditation, maybe, or just however feels most comfortable to you, and see what happens.
Okay, thank you for that, Sherry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just my chat
Yeah.
keeps jumping up and down on me here. Um, Usually, I'm trying to decide people that already ask a question whether or not I should skip and get to everyone else and then go back to it. But then the issue way down the list, trying to find them again in the list. So I guess I won't skip it. I'll just, while it's on my same screen, I'll ask the second one first and then first one second. So anyway, next one is from Erin and Alexi. asking, "Hi Sherry, on Coast to Coast a few days ago, a army sergeant discussed or governments are ever going to tell us the truth."
Probably not. I don't expect our governments to last that much longer on the planet. I think, once people wake up, I think that they are going to be wanting to change the structure of the way the political systems are arranged. But even so, to answer your question, um, I don't know that I would look for that. I don't know. I mean, I personally don't feel like I need that validation or their explanation, because you don't know if you can believe it anyway. Although hopefully we're headed, and eventually we'll get there to where there will be honesty and truth. But I think we'll find that it was just a gigantic cover-up, and that a lot of the conspiracy theories that you hear about are really true, that they did capture some entities, some ETs there, and I don't know what they did with them. That's disconcerting, I don't know. But I think if we get a story from them, it'll be a manicured story to cast them in a more favorable light than probably they should be, because I don't think they have many scruples. I mean, that was at a time when things were already corrupt, and it was all about them and controlling the masses and keeping us in the dark. So the story would not be pretty. So if it comes out, it'll come out in an abbreviated form, and that'll be it. So.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from, I skipped on me again. It's from Anuska again, asking, "Is there any extraterrestrial force involved in the spread of pandemic? Is there any gain of truth to that theory?"
I would say that it's really that I'm getting that it's not the pandemic, it's not the what I call a flu or the COVID, that the extraterrestrial, the influence from the reptilians came in on the inoculation, the V, and because that's the point of the whole thing. The point of the whole thing was to get you to take the shot. I mean, they've been pushing them. I mean, it's on every corner, every Walgreens, every grocery store. I mean, they're even paying people against the flu and the shingles and pneumonia and every other thing they can think of, trying to get you to take an injection into your body. That's been their goal, because that once they have that injection in you, they've got you, and that's what their end goal was. So that had the reptilians' fingerprints all around it and on it, and of course the evil ones here on the planet. The pandemic was that's a story that they pushed. That I think they had to be pretty pleased with how well it worked, how quickly the humans, fell into line and obeyed. But that's the nature of the humans. If they thought they were endangering somebody, that's what they would do, and they were counting on the sweetness and the kindness of the humans to, don't do it for yourself, do it for others, which really pisses me off, because they're using you and they're playing you. But that's the way I see it. I see definitely there is the reptilian influence and the Luciferian. I mean, that's who's behind all of this. So yeah, but it's not necessarily the pandemic that was a means to an end, which is to get you injected with their poison. So.
Okay. Just real quick again, for those that have a question, I've been kind of thoroughly looking through, maybe thinking that some of you might never heard what I said earlier. Please, if you can include, I think it's shift 8 and just 3 stars before your question, and that way I know it's for Sherry. It makes it so much easier for me sifting through. I'd really appreciate it. So let me see the next question here. This one is from Russell, asking, what are her thoughts on the transhumanism movement?
Well, Yeah, I mean, that's what we're looking at, right? That's what we're talking about. Um, it's unfortunate. It won't be allowed to happen. I'm quite certain it will not be allowed to go that far. I think that, I mean, the first steps have been taken with the V, and so I think there's going to be some major. I would hope there would be some major events and some major disclosures and some big steps taken in the next. I don't think we've got years. We're talking, I think, months, weeks, maybe even, because the more people that get that damn jab, we have to try to reverse that if we can. They have to have the ability, and that might come from our star families. But and if that doesn't happen, then the next level of it, it's got to be put to a halt. I don't think that our cosmic family, I don't think they're going to allow it to go. And what we call, I guess we'd call them the white hats, who are working with the good ETs, the benevolent ETs. Thank God for them. I don't believe. I'm really quite certain that's not going to go there. Not going to happen.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Jennifer G, asking, what exactly is it about the shot that is dangerous?
What's in it? Poisons, little transmitters. I mean, my knowledge of it is that it is the first step in transhumanism. Once you get the shot, I mean, and then do you want me to talk about this? Because it's pretty fear-based stuff.
Well, like I was telling you earlier, you have to start in fear and resolve it in order to eventually get to the light. And if we just talk about the light, they don't know what fear got us to the light. So, I mean, I'm not expecting much from YouTube to, promote the channel anyway. If anything, they might, they haven't taken us down yet. So talk away.
Yes, I'm surprised. I'm kind of surprised at that they haven't taken you down. I don't want to be the one to bring you down.
Yeah, no,
But
just
my understanding is that
do what you got to do.
well, the what it does is that it stops you from ascending. It is a cocktail made to affect your soul, and that once you take it, that you will not be able to ascend. And I mean, that kind of goes anyway along with what seemed to be, I mean, I've been saying that we're in the split, and you're going to be asked. I mean, the few interviews I did during the time I was sick, I kept warning people we're in the split, and wake up now. Don't wait for things to get rougher, and wake up now. But so it's a choice between fear and love, and if you side it with fear, then you did wear the mask and you got the jab, and by making that decision, you chose to stay in the third dimension. You chose to stay in a 3D world of duality and continue on your journey there rather than go into the higher frequency. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what the truth of the matter is, because what I understand is something that genetically will not allow you. And actually, I mean, it's the reptilians. They're the ones who put that together. So how evil are they? They're pretty evil. So it's nasty stuff. They want you to stay unawakened. They want you to stay unaware. It will keep you from becoming aware and awake, and will hold you in a low frequency, because they do want you to be kept as their slave, and they don't want to give up the good thing they've had here. So that's my understanding is what it does. There's speculation. There's all these doctors talking about how you know, it could. They're expecting many of the people to be gone, to die within 2 years. But I would not necessarily subscribe to that. I think that there could be, that might be fear mongering. It could be, or it could be reversed possibly by technology. I mean, we've got the med beds coming out. We've got other technology. We've got the sooner we wake up, the sooner this happens, and we take out the dark ones, the more hope there is to reverse the effects of that decision. So I don't want to bring about fear by saying all that. And it's just what I know, what I know. I could be totally, my information could be all wrong. So stay positive and trust.
Okay, thank you for that. The Kathy is asking, are we in a holographic universe? And then in parentheses, nature of reality.
Yep. We certainly are. This is absolutely a holographic universe, and I mean, it's probably more obvious now than ever before. And so, that belief can also bring peace of mind to you if you're concerned about the results of this pandemic and the consequences of getting the jab. Knowing that it's all an illusion. We create it as we go along, and so we can create and make anything happen that we want. It's all temporary. It's all very fluid. This planet with its time and space and solid forms and bodies and everything else that go along with it. I mean, it's an illusion, and it's temporary. And the truth of who you are, which is what everybody should be focusing, the truth of who they are. The truth of who you are is that you are an eternal divine being. You are one with your creator. And truth, no harm can come to you. No harm can come to you. That's the bottom line. Not truly. Yes, you can suffer. I know that while you're here in a body. But I mean, how many times did I get through some really dark times by just reminding myself that this is an illusion? And I tell you that it helped. It helped to alleviate the pain and just remembering who you are. So that's highly important right now. So yes, it is a holographic universe, most certainly.
So basically two things. Please, if you guys could stick to questions. Sometimes people use the 3 stars and make a statement. Questions only, please. Also, I'm going to revert back to the questions that came in later because I'm kind of backtracking. So this one is from Andrea again. Why do reptilians hate us? Do they envy us, or what do they get from what do they get from all this?
Well, they want the planet. They want the planet with about 500 million slaves on it to do their bidding. They believe this planet is theirs, and rightfully they feel that they were pushed underground so the humans could flourish, and they were not supposed to mess with the humans, but they broke the treaty, they broke the contract, and they did, and it got out of hand. Free will on this planet is part of the problem, but also part of the solution. So they do hate us they hate the humans for who they are. The humans are a unique species. That's putting it lightly. The humans on Earth, humans are just unique among all the beings that are out there. But they've had a good thing on the planet, and they don't want to give it up. And they want to kill most of us and keep a handful to do their bidding. and they'll do anything to get that their way. But we've got the Creator on our side. We have many benevolent races that came here to assist us, because it's critical that this planet and the humans survive. It's critical because we are all connected. That's how it's been set up. So there's a lot at stake here. So that's why they're fighting tooth and toenail. But they're not going to win. They've really lost. They've lost already. But it's been a long battle. And it's been a long battle, a million years or more, millions of years. So it's gone on a long time. It's time for it to end and put this behind us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So the next question is from Dave, asking, "Hi Sherry, if you have taken jab, can you counteract effects by?" Does that make sense?
Yeah. He's wanting to know if that, well, can you counter the effects by becoming more aware, awakening? Well, there's remedies out there. There's, if you know where to look to this whole thing, if you know where to look, and it's frustrating. I mean, the first thing is you certainly can't turn on the TV, certainly can't look there. And you can look a little bit on YouTube, but you have to really dig, and you have to know, and you have to be very discerning. But there are doctors out there who have studied the effects of this jab and are putting out what you can take to counter the physical effects of it. The spike protein and the cell manipulation and the accumulation of fluid that eventually leads to heart failure, and the diseases that are likely to occur. So there are things that you can take, and it's not, I wish I could rattle them off real easily, but I can't. And there's a couple different doctors giving different, and most of them overlap though. And there's something called NAC and massive doses of, I think, vitamin C. But if you look around, there are doctors out there very outspoken, and they're investigating, and they're offering solutions to the physical ramifications of taking it. As for the kind of the transhumanism thing and the keeping you in a low frequency, I don't know why you couldn't say, I'm not in agreement with that, and I'm not going to play that game, and I am going to wake up, and I am going to raise my frequency and set about doing that. It would seem to me that's what I would do. And you're God. Why can't you do that? So definitely.
Okay, thank you for that. Creeth, Crith, Creeth says, what does Sherry think of Q? And just real quick, there was just a comment before about what I was saying, that please no comments. We can have a discussion. I mean, I understand a good discussion is good, but for right now, it's just for Q&A. You guys can always contact Sherry on her website. Do you have Sherry, I believe you have a contact information on there where somebody could write you an email, correct?
Yeah, I have contact. I like it if they go on the blog. If they go on the blog and we can have some conversation there. If they send me an email, I'm trying really hard, but my fingers don't work most days. I can't always type that easily, but I do try to take care of the blog first and foremost.
Right. So anyway, what I was going to say, I
better-
would like to direct people to your site, and please
Yeah.
make statements, whatever you would like. But for sake of time and people lined up to ask questions, I just would like to get through those. So it's not that a discussion is not allowed. It's just not feasible. I mean, that's why I'm having a discussion with her. But anyway, so the next question is from, again, Creeth, asking, what does Sherry think of Q?
I think Q is just genius, just a genius. It's a highly intelligent military operation that was put in place. It's been in place. It's interesting. The whole thing with Q goes back to the days of Lincoln, Of course, we've had other presidents who wanted to try to bring about fairness and decency in our government and having the people be in control rather than having a few people at the top line their pockets and start wars and do all the horrible things they've done. So Q goes back a long way, but I think in this instance it was expanded on, because my understanding is that it was put in this plan that's in place now, the Great Awakening Plan and the trust the plan whole thing with Q goes back to when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And they knew then that there were dark forces infiltrating our government with the objective to take over and destroy the country. But that was when they started to go on the offense, the counter-offense, and thank God that they did. And this has been a long, long time in the making, and it's absolutely genius the way that they did that. And anybody who has not followed it and who ridicules it and says how silly it is and it's a bunch of computer geeks and all the other things that they say about it, they have no clue. They have no clue how absolutely highly intelligent this was. And fantastic plan, just fantastic. I don't know if we'd be, on the verge of this great change if it weren't for the Q plan. And it grabbed me right from the beginning. My guys told me, pay attention to this. I shared it with my Course in Miracles class. I think 2 people out of the whole class actually did. And both of them have thanked me so that they have the awareness of what's going on. I think 1 or 2 of them I think they both might be watching this right now. But it's a shame for those who didn't, because I'm pretty certain most of them ended up getting the vaccination. And so it breaks my heart, but you can only, you can only lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. And again, every soul has its own path. But I'm in awe of this whole Q movement. I think it was so much fun to follow and to watch. It was just an amazing thing. It was pretty cool. I feel bad for those who missed it.
Okay, thank you for that, Sherry. Bradley's asking, Sherry, with free will, does that make us especially vulnerable to manipulation? Also, would someone on the path be more vulnerable to attacks?
Yeah, free will is an interesting, I could talk for a long time about that, and I used to get into it sometimes in my lectures, because I have a love-hate relationship with free will. I'm not used to having free will. The world that I occupied before I came here, we were of one mind, and we were with one mind with our Creator. And so our will was aligned with the Creator's, and that is, for me, that is the way I want to live. Having this free will gives room for the ego and fear to rise up and take over. It was part of the experiment on planet Earth to give humans free will, and we see how it turned out. So it's a curse, but it's a gift. And like I said earlier, it's in some ways it's going to be humanity's way out of this, but I personally prefer to unite my will with my Creator's, and I affirm every day that my will is one with my Creator, and that I allow the Creator's voice to come through me and show me where to go and what to do and what path to be on. Because if you're aligned with your Creator, then you're in a much, much better place. Your decisions are wiser, and it's just I think it's a better existence to be aligned with your higher self, or even better, the Creator. So, and are those on the path more vulnerable to attack, I think, did you say? Sadly, yeah, that's actually, when you're waking up, I think it's fairly well known by us that when you're going through the awakens and your vibration increases. And I mean, I've been told, and from what I have seen and witnessed, I believe it's probably true that the dark ones do have a way of monitoring the masses, and when your frequency reaches a certain level, that it just triggers a response from the dark ones, and you might get attacked. But hey, fun and games, it's part of the awakening, and if you experience that, you'll know how to deal with it, and you stand strong in who you are, and you affirm. It's a test, because when you do wake up, you do go through, what do they call that? I'm starting to get tired, so the night of the what's it called, Adnan? Anyway, you go through all kinds of trials and tribulations, and most of us who wake up, we have great losses. You lose everything. Usually your life is stripped down to nothing. That's part of the process of the awakening, and it's necessary, and it teaches you, you learn, and it helps you to remember who you are. You're not your job, you're not your relationship, you're not your money, you're not your house, you're not your car, you're not your good health, you're not anything. You are an eternal soul, one with your Creator. And it's
Sherry,
a good.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Were you going to say something else?
Nope, I'm just going to say it's just the way it goes, and there's no escaping it.
Sorry, I lost my spot in okay. The next question is from Fab22, saying, were the reptilians on Gaia before human?
My understanding is that they were. Yeah, they've been here. They've been here longer than the Homo sapien. But the Earth was created for the humans. So the reptilians they really didn't have any right to be here. They claimed it as their planet for selfish reasons, but it was created for the humans to be introduced, and they were introduced at a later time. But it's not like homesteading, where you can stake a flag in the ground and say, this is mine. The creators who did this experiment knew full well that they were going to see the planet with the Homo sapiens and see how they grew. And the reptilians didn't have any right to be here, and they were asked to leave, and they didn't want to. And they, some did, most did, but those that didn't went underground and agreed to share the planet and not interfere with the program that was going on the surface. But they did, and so they're not welcome to stay here anymore.
Sherry, how you doing energy-wise for Q&A? Do you want me to just pick a few and make that be it for today, or?
No, I can keep going. I love the interaction. It actually gives me energy. I couldn't remember Dark Night of the Soul when I was giving that answer.
Yeah, I was just saying. Stacy in the comments said something about Dark Night of the Soul. I'm not too familiar with this. So I'm sorry I couldn't help you out when you were asking.
That's okay. That's okay. No, go ahead. Ask some more questions.
Right. Sorry, I'm losing my spot here again, because people are active, which is great. There's another question from Dean, which was very similar. It says, are reptilians from this world? So you already addressed it.
Yeah, they're not, but they homesteaded here.
Right. The next question is from Tatum, asking, hello, Sherry, what's the best way to raise our vibrations and move on to the new earth or graduate from this school?
To stay heart-centered, to stay in your heart, it shouldn't be work. It should be something that comes fairly natural to you, to just stay in compassion and gratitude and just be who you are. Your thoughts, always monitor your thoughts, and ask your angels or your guides for guidance, and declare that your frequency as high as it can possibly go. And when you do that, hang on and see what happens. Because if you're, because along with raising your frequency will come the awakening, the ascension. And the awakening is notoriously known for being a painful process. It doesn't have to be, but it almost always is, because your life will be brought up in front of you as far as you need that, and it turns out you don't need any of that stuff. So your life usually ends up being stripped of anything that does not serve the purpose of your awakening. So all your relationships, family, friends, your job, your life, everything is held up to the light, and anything that does not serve the higher purpose of you awakening and getting on the path that you are meant to be on, that you came to be on, will fall away. And you want to have, I don't know, for me it was the Course in Miracles that answered all the questions when I was going through that. Why all the losses? Why am I experiencing this? And it opens you up. It's the best trip you can go on, but it can be painful at times. But that's how you do it. You ask, and you embrace whatever comes your way, and just continue putting one foot in front of the other and staying true to it. The last thing you want to do is get stalled. A lot of people get stalled in their awakening process because it starts to hurt, and so they freeze. And you don't want to do that, because you can get stuck there. I mean, I remember part of my awaken and part of what I was trained as a light reader was to meet with the souls from the planet. I would meet with them on the astral plane at night, when they were out of their bodies, and I would meet them there and try to convince them to wake up, because so many on the planet were close, and they just needed to take that step. But they were quite honest. A lot of them were brutally honest and said, I don't want to go through the suffering. I don't want to go through the pain. I know I've seen what it's like to go through the awakening. I don't want to do it yet. Let me just stay in the illusion a little longer. And that was their choice. That's what they wanted to do. So you let them. But I tell you, to partially get partway into it and then to stop I wouldn't recommend that at all. I would stay true to it. Make sure your commitment is strong and go for it. It's not so bad. It's a great journey. It's a great experience.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question is from Andrea, asking, when can we expect the second book to be ready?
Yeah. Well, I'll be very frank with you. Right now I can't see well enough to write. And my hands don't work well enough to type on a keyboard. I'm staying on this protocol, and I'm hoping that I get better. I have an exit coming up next March, and I'm aware of that. Now my guys they told me a long time ago that I would not be taking that exit, because things will have changed in my life enough that I won't want to take it. So I'm hoping that that's true. I really, really, really hope that's true. I don't,
I hope this goes without saying. I hope you don't take the exit either. So,
yeah,
you
and I'm
have
not
people
saying
care
that to
for
be
you.
dramatic, but I'm just going to be honest. I want to stay here. I'd love to stay another 20 years, write the book, and see the changes take place on planet Earth. But I'm really, really tired. I'm really, really tired. And every day is, it's not a picnic. And so if things, and I've gotten a reason to believe that it is going to get better. I've got people who have come into my life recently who are giving me messages and from the other side, and I'm told that it is on my path that I am to, as they say, rise up like a phoenix from the ashes, and we'll see. I just tell you, I'm just so tired. So hopefully it will get better and improve, because I would love to write another book. I would love to see the film come out. I would love to be here to see all the amazing things that are going to happen on this planet. They're just going to knock people's socks off, and I'd like to be here for no other. I'm not like this, but I should want to stay, so I can say, hey, see, I told you so. I wasn't crazy for saying I was talking to aliens. So it'd be great to stick around and see all that come about. But at the same time, I have a yearning to go home also, because I haven't been home for a long time. I've been fighting these reptilians for a long time, and this is our final battle. This is the final stand, and I understand I get to go home now. So when I'm done here, so that's enticing too. So we'll see how it plays out.
Okay. Sherry, the next question is from Kathy. I don't know if you can speak to this, but anyway, the question is, does Sherry have any info on mud floods, Tartaria, and the reset from mid-1800s?
Mud floods and the Great Reset of 1800.
Right.
No,
okay.
I don't really know. I don't know much about what she's speaking about. I'm sorry. So I can't answer that one, and I'm not getting anything. Usually I get, even if I don't know the answer to something, but it's part of history I'm not aware of.
Right. Okay. Stacy is asking, what do you think of the rapture, biblical?
Well, I think it's a nice story. I think that it's a partial story, like the Bible is. The Bible is, and if she's talking about the what's in the Bible with the rapture story, it's been edited and changed from the original content to serve the purpose of controlling the masses. So, do I believe there's going to be a rapture? I believe there's going to be an event that happens on the planet that comes from our central sun energy that comes through, and because as I think back on what I was told and shown by my guides and what I remember from before I came here, and I've seen other planets go through ascensions, although this one on this planet is quite unique, but there is a filtering that takes place, and so the light, the frequency that's going to be coming onto the planet, I think will act as like a filter for those who are of a high frequency and so ready to go to the fifth dimension with the planet, and those who are of a denser frequency will go to another third dimensional planet to continue on their awakening process. That's what I think of as being the rapture. Although it could be, I suppose people lifted up in their light bodies. I suppose certainly Yeshua did that. So that's not out of the realm of possibilities by any means. But I see it as being more of a light that comes onto the planet and kind of transforms, hopefully in the blink of an eye. But maybe that part I don't have right either. I never got an answer on that. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
A new question. Pauline B is asking, "Hi Sherry, what's her belief that we create our reality?" Thanks.
What's that belief about? What does that
No,
mean?
it says, what is your belief on that we create our reality?
Oh yeah. Well, one of the three important things my guys told me is that number 3 was to monitor your thoughts. And kind of the extension of that, they never said monitor your thoughts because they create your reality. But now, as I went along, I saw why they didn't limit it to that. That's what it would have been very limiting to put that on there. Monitor your thoughts, not just because they create your reality, but because, for so many reasons, it influences your frequency, and there's just so much to it. But yes, we do create our own reality. it's kind of sort of the law of attraction, or basically when you hear people say, what I do is I try to go to the field, I go into the field to find a frequency that matches with my body being healthy. And I visualize that and I meditate on that. And that's one of the ways that I always was able to heal myself. I've not been able to heal myself from this because I don't think I was meant to. I think it is part of a mission that I'm part of to not heal from it. But who knows? Maybe that's just an excuse. But we absolutely do create our reality, and you can practice that by going into the field, and it's kind of like going to the candy store and deciding what you want your future to look like. What is it that you want to manifest in your life? And you find the frequency that matches with that, and that's how you create it. And it is through your thoughts, through your frequency, through your intentions, all that good stuff. So it's a lot easier than what we make it to be. We make it a lot harder than what it truly is. It's actually the way we'll live, and knowing, having that awareness and using it easily. So hope that answers that.
The next question is from Russell, asking, are you 100% for certain that the shot is poison?
No, I'm not 100% sure of anything. Everything is fluid, and everything can change according to the beliefs of the majority. So, and no, just bottom line is no. I mean, I wouldn't have that information. I've not been privy to that. I'm just going on what I've been shown and what I've been directed to. So, no, not 100%.
Okay. So, Sherry, just real quick, it's been about 2.5 hours and I need a bathroom break. So, how about I ask you the next question and you just answer to the audience, and I will be back in a jiffy.
Okay, I hope it's a long one. Okay.
Okay. So, so this next question is from Star Brother, asking, has Sherry any knowledge of any of her past lifetimes?
Oh, okay. Well, yes, I remember who I was before I came here. I remember hanging out in the universe. I was an etheric being. I didn't really have answering slowly to give poor admin time. I didn't really have a body, but I had a form. And I was out there in the universe, and it was interesting because I was listening. I was just listening. I was just hanging out listening, and I was so content. And Earth was for the most part, had been my focus for some time. I remember that. I remember visiting the planet during the time, during Egypt when the pyramids were being built. I remember participating in that. I have a little bug flying around me. So I remember that, but I don't remember, I came on the planet Earth, but I came on in my ET form in Egyptian times. I don't know what I looked like, and I didn't look at myself, so I don't know. But I don't have memory of previous lives. Like, I've not incarnated on planet Earth lives here. My understanding is that I've been working with the light forces to protect this universe against the reptilians. And how I got here to do that is because I came from another system, another star system, and the Lyrian planet was taken over and destroyed by the reptilians. And they systematically were going through and destroying civilizations through that star system. And we devised a way to, because we are not a warring people, I came from a place, my system of origin was a place where there was no no darkness to speak of. And so we didn't know how to fight or do that. So to defend ourselves, and many in that universe were like that. And but after they started coming after us, we divided the reptilians out of our universe, and so we did that. We transported them out and we locked them out. We got rid of them that way, which was ingenious, and it was great, and we were safe then. But we transported them here to this system we did it out of ignorance and out of innocence. It was not intentional that we put anyone else at harm's way, but we did. And when we found out that that's what had happened, a handful of us decided to try to make amends and make it right. And I was one of those who decided to leave my home and come here. And I've been here ever since. And I understand it's been a long, long time. It feels like it's been a long, long time. And since I've been home. So that's what I've been here doing. So I don't have any memories of any incarnations on planets, other than one planet that I was assisting in its ascension. And I was on that planet, and it was being flooded. I don't believe there were too many that made the ascension on that planet, and so the beings on that planet were being washed off, and which happens a fair amount. And I was on there, and I was waiting to be picked up, and my ship they cut it right down to the last second. It's like, because the planet was going under, and so that's etched into my memory of being picked up at the 11th hour and taken off that planet just in time. So that's the only memory I have, other than just hanging out in the universe and visiting the planet and observing. I remember observing planet Earth. I remember that a lot, and I remember being with Yeshua. Before I came here, he was with me when I planned my life, and there was a lot of laughter and a lot of joking about the path that I set out for myself. I remember that. He was like a big brother, and he teased me a lot about how it was going to be for me coming in and being in a body, since he had done it and he knew how challenging it was going to be. And I knew it was going to be tough, but I didn't know it was going to be this tough. And so I put a lot on my plate, because that's just who I think I am, As Maria, the woman in the episode that Adnan asked me to share about, one of the things she said about me when she was carrying on was, she said, Sherry is, she said, Sherry came here to help the planet. She's not human. She thinks, this is what she said, she thinks she invulnerable. She not invulnerable. That's what she said about me. And I would say that that's true. I do have a tendency to think that that I'm invulnerable. And so maybe that's why I took on this sickness, because it take me down, it's a good thing for me to experience. Are you back, Adnan?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I talk slow and I expanded on that greatly to give you
No,
time.
yeah, just 2.5 hours. I don't know if you I got you covered if you got to go.
I can last a little long, because it's 9:30, and
Okay.
I'm actually watching a storm roll in. There's lightning, and it's going to start to thunder and rain pretty soon, I think.
Well,
So
how
I'm usually
about two more questions and then we'll leave it at that.
be fine. I know
Okay.
it's a long video. Most people probably don't want to sit that long, but
Well, I
yeah.
mean, the whole point is to, I mean, I don't know at what point the information they're looking for will be coming from you, but if I remember when I was doing research, I mean, sometimes, a long time ago, I would watch and read and get into details however much I have to just to find that little sliver of one sentence that I was looking for, and so it all depends on how serious you are wanting to find your answers. And sometimes, it comes at the unexpected times, and and even I've noticed when people talk in general, others always have expectations of that they should be talking in a certain way, as
Yeah.
if just pow, 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 rapid,
Yeah.
information, coming out of the brain. But when you trying to recall memories upon memories, it takes a while. But this one, so I guess I'll ask them two more. So this one wasn't, I guess, it's from Teresa, and looks like she didn't put the 3 stars on there, but it was going slow enough for me to catch it and realize it's a question for you. She's asking, is it safe for unvaxxed therapists to do energetic work on vaxxed people? Thank you much, love.
Is it safe for unvaxxed people to do energy work on
To do
vaxxed?
energy work on vaxxed people.
That's a really good question, and I understand why she's asking that. Um, I'm going to just share my philosophy, and it's one that Jim and I, we talked about it a lot because pretty much everyone we know went and got the vaccination. Our family, his family, actually, I don't see my family anyway, although it's not true. My grandson just came to visit me, which was wonderful. But we made the decision that we weren't going to live in fear around that issue because the whole thing about the shedding came out and the spike proteins being passed and all that stuff. And I think it comes down to your frequency, and I think it comes down to your intention and your beliefs and everything. And I think it goes hand in hand with what Dad told me when the reptilians show up at your door. You just stand in the truth of who you are, and you'll be safe. Because the way he explained it, he said you'll be fine. And he went on to say, Sherry, you surpassed that frequency long ago. You have nothing to fear. So it's all about your frequency. And so if you're doing body work or energy work on someone, as long as you aren't in fear, because fear is the crippler, and that's the danger. I don't think the danger comes from them shedding on you. I've seen and gotten together with people recently who, since I started feeling good, I felt good and then I started to crash again. When I was feeling really good, I was anxious to get out and meet with some people. And I hugged them, and I actually hung on to them sometimes because I missed, a few of my friends I hadn't seen for so long, and so we just kind of hung on to each other. And even though I know they had gotten the vaccination, I just didn't have any fear. I didn't think twice about it. But you need to do what feels right to you. But Jim and I both talked about it, and we said, how are we going to deal with this? First they turned the tables on us and had said that, he had family who said we couldn't come to Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever the holiday was, the gathering was. We couldn't come unless we wore a mask. So we just didn't go. Now they were feeling safe enough because they got the vax. So then they're like, well, you can come now and you don't have to wear the mask. And do we want to go and expose ourselves to them? They all had gotten the vaccination. But we decided to go. And we spent the day and we spent a lot of time with them, and there was lots of hugging and lots of closeness, and I wouldn't let it stop you. But if you feel vulnerable, if you feel fear around it, then you should not do it. That's my advice.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so Sherry, the last question from Kathy is, what is the origin of the Rho negative blood types? And then parentheses, Anunnaki.
Well, she's asking something I don't have any knowledge of. I've heard about that. I don't even know what kind of blood type I have. I know the blood type is a factor, and it does link you to certain star families. It's bound to because of the mixing of the genetics. I'm gonna guess that she's right with the Anunnaki, but I truly shouldn't speak to it because I don't know, and I'm not getting any downloads on it, and my guys never talked to me about it. So why don't you ask a different question then instead? Because I can't answer that one. Sorry.
Okay. Let me see whichever one comes up first, because some of them are now repeat people asking again. All right, I guess then Anuska is going to be the last question. How can one know whether or not they might have originated from an alien race in some point in time before incarnating as a human on Earth?
That's a good question, and I was going to kind of give a little smart answer by saying, well, you absolutely came from you're part of an alien race somewhere because you're eternal and you've been out here playing in the universes for a long time, but not necessarily. Some of the souls on planet Earth go back a long way. They've been here for a long, long, long time. They've been here, I mean, over and over again, and they just never moved on to another experience. And it wasn't just because they were trapped here necessarily, because there have been many opportunities between the receding of the planet. So they could have been, this could be their origin, their original start point from coming out from source. So when you come up from source, you have all endless options as to where you want to start and where you want to go. So if you start at planet Earth, that definitely could be your beginning, your root, where your roots are. You could access the Akashic records to see. You could do that yourself through practice and training, or you could go to somebody. There's people out there. There's quite a few that are really good. I'm trying to think of the name of the one that I recently saw, who Vivian Chavez or something like that her name is. She's really good at accessing the Akashic records and taking a look to see where your origins are rooted. But because we are all eternal beings, and eternity is a really long time, the odds are good that you've been around a long time and that you've got lots and lots of history, and that you've been, and we're multidimensional beings. I mean, it would be very strange for someone to have only planet Earth be their experience. So I would say go to the Akashic records and see what you've got in your past if you're interested in that sort of thing. Because we all, yeah, we want to experience a lot. It'd be very rare for someone to just be here on planet Earth and nothing else. So, interesting question. That was a good question. I feel bad that we're not able to get to all the other questions. The reason I like Q&A so much, Adnan, is because when I get the questions, a lot of times I'll get a download to answer it, and I always like some of the questions are questions I'd like to ask myself. So I like to hear the answer myself. So it's always interesting for me too.
Yeah, well, I like them because sometimes, once I satisfy my own curiosity, people have questions that I might not know to ask. So that always comes in handy in that case. But
Yeah.
Sherry, in either case, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're able to do this interview, and I hope we do many more to come. And you just hang tight and do what you got to do, what you came here for, and everyone else watching that wanted to have more of an interaction with Sherry, please contact her on her website. It's in the description below on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, should be above the video, and I believe. I don't know, the Twitch paste the links in there. But anyway, you can contact Sherry there and make whatever statement and have discussions with her if she has time, to answer. So anyway, just wanted to cover that part. But Sherry, thank you again. I'm glad we're able to do this. And like I said, we've talked on the phone on and off throughout the months, but you were not exactly the best of states.
No. But no, I was excited. I mean, you were the one I wanted to. I've done a few along the way, spur of the moment. If I felt strong, I would jump on and do a video with somebody. But you were the one I wanted to get back with, because I've always enjoyed doing these with you. So it's a milestone for me to do this, and I'm hoping it's the first of many. So
Well, thank you. I
thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah, no, I always think back on the time on 2014 when I I guess it was the very first time you and I talked, and I don't know if that was your first interview you did on
Yes.
camera. Um,
Yes.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, it was. Yes,
Oh,
it
okay.
was. It was all me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the camera now, so I'm not seeing your body language, and you were kind of weak on my headset, uh, wise. But yeah, no. Ever since then, it's one of these things to where I mean, often I always kind of establish a some form of relationship with the guests that I usually do interviews with. But with you, it's almost like you're an old friend, and so
Yeah.
throughout the years, we just kept in touch.
Yep. Yep. That's the way I feel too. That's why I wanted you to be my first official coming back, hopefully coming back. And I always enjoyed talking with you, and both as a friend and as with the interviews, because you always do such a great job with it. So it's a real treat for me to be here.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad, and I hope you got to cover what you wanted to cover and put that out there for those that are curious on what happened to you, where have you been, what's going on, where's Sherry. So I hope that
Yeah.
kind of put some of those questions to rest. And so,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That's
yeah, well, say hi to Jim for me, and you know, you guys have fun. And I don't know, do you have any closing words before we sign off?
Oh, I do not. I didn't have an agenda of anything I really wanted to say. I just thought I would let it flow. It always does. Just, your natural curiosity and the way you set it up. So I think I said probably more than I wanted to say about like I hope I didn't instill any fear. That was certainly not my intention at all. It's never been my intention. Um, I just don't know how to, I don't sometimes know how to censor myself. What I know, I just put it out there, and I figured people who hear it will take from it what they need to, and that it won't create any problems, that it will help with the awakening and help with the awareness, because um, the way of setting you free. And that's
Right.
all I intend to do is to put the truth out there as I know it to be. And if it doesn't resonate, doesn't fit for you, then I don't have a problem with that at all. So
All right.
wishing everybody the best. Yeah.
Well, Sherry, thank you again. Everyone else
Yes.
watching, I appreciate you that you stuck with us this whole time. I apologize for those that are having some kind of stream issues. On my end, there was absolutely nothing that I could do. Maybe in the future, I might reduce the bit rate, make it maybe not as high, because I don't know why some people were having, I guess, buffering issues. This is going to be the same link that you're watching this on. You can, once we're done, I guess YouTube does the processing, and you'll be able to immediately rewatch here. And I don't think you should have the same buffering issues then, because at that time now it would be officially on the YouTube servers. And so they apply their own whatever compression on it, and make it into just a video that you can rewatch over and over again. So anyway, thank you for sticking around for this long. I appreciate you all. Thank you for the questions. Again, please reach out to Sherry. She has a website, to contact her, ask whatever other questions you might have, comments you might have. So that way, nothing is standing in your way. It's just sometimes that we do Q&A, which is question and answers, and not necessarily statement and answers. So please do reach out, and I hope, Sherry, you you know get to answer some of those, which would mean that you're getting back to your health and getting the control of your fingers back and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody who writes, just be patient. I get to it. It all depends on how I'm feeling. I want to do it. I read everything right away, but I just can't always respond. So
Okay.
be patient. I do answer eventually. It might take months, but I do.
All right.
Okay.
Well, everyone, have a good night, good day, wherever you might be. Sherry, have a good evening as well, and we'll talk again.
Okay. Take care. Good night.
Bye bye.